This video is not financial advice. I am not a financial planner. I'm an entertainer. The one, the only ape father up all night. Wow! So I'm not trying to get political here, but I wanted to share an inspirational story. So there was a time in the 90s, in the early 90s, that Donald J. Trump was, I think, around $9 billion in debt. Okay. Now, what was really scary about this was that he actually personally guaranteed about $1 billion of it to complete the construction of the Taj Mahal. And he was walking down the street one day with his daughter, Ivanka, and there was this homeless, guy on the street. And he looked at this guy and he told Ivanka, his daughter, "You see that guy over there?" She's like, "Yeah." "He's worth $9 billion more than me." And Ivanka was like very confused and she didn't understand like what the father was saying because obviously here's a guy who was homeless. Her father was Donald Trump, had these big skyscrapers all over the country, all over the world, right? She's like, "What's he talking about?" Well, the way he figured it, Trump, was if this guy, let's say, owed no money. So in other words, he wasn't in the red. He's worth zero. So if Donald Trump was negative 9 billion and this guy was just zero, then technically he was worth $9 billion more than Donald Trump. Isn't that crazy? So it was really tough times for Donald Trump. And, he was close to giving in. He was really close to going bankrupt and giving up. And then all of a sudden, it's like he had this burst of energy. He's like, "I'm going to fight back." So he went outside the Trump Tower by himself. It was pouring, raining outside. He was actually getting drenched. He didn't have an umbrella. And he was trying to get a taxi cab. Donald Trump, right? Like no limousine, no one driving him. He was by himself on Fifth Avenue in the pouring rain. He finally got a taxi cab. And they took him to, I guess, the bank that he was indebted to. It was actually not just one bank. I think it was like 20 or 30 banks from all around the world. And they were all meeting in a boardroom. He owed money to like everybody. He owed like $9 billion. So basically, he said, "Look, here's the situation, okay?" He goes, "I want more money." And they all looked at each other like in shock. They were like, "What? You want more money? You owe us $9 billion. We're going to foreclose and take all your properties." He's like, "Well, if you do that," he says, "you're going to wind up getting pennies on the dollar for that property. You're not going to recover your $9 billion." He goes, "Maybe you're going to recover $1 billion. Are you all prepared to lose $8 billion?" And the thing was, he was 100% right because, see, it's different when like someone's like in foreclosure, like a regular person, where they just own a $200,000, $300,000 house. It's worth it to the bank to foreclose because hey, even if they can pick up the majority of the money and they lose 50,000, 60, 70,000, they don't care. But it's a whole different story when they're going to lose 8 billion. So the last thing that these banks wanted to do was foreclose on Donald J. Trump. So they actually said, "Look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you a lifeline. We're going to give you $65 billion just to keep them alive." You know what I mean? And so that was the end of it, right? Now, at the time, he was actually going through a divorce with his first wife, which was Ivana Trump. So, out of the 65 billion that the banks gave him to keep his companies alive, he settled the divorce proceedings with Ivana and took 17 billion out of the 65 billion to pay her. The banks were furious. They were like, "That's our money. We gave that to you to stay afloat." But that's just the way Donald was, because he felt like at that time, Ivana was distracting him. He said, "Here, take 17 billion. Arrivederci, hasta la vista, baby." So now he had another problem. He owned the Trump Princess, which was that big gigantic yacht that he bought from like what are the sheiks of like Saudi Arabia, right? So he couldn't afford the insurance payment. It was like a very big payment, right? So like Donald was a genius negotiator. I mean, not was, is, he still is. He's a genius negotiator. So he calls up the insurance company and he's like, look, basically, he goes, would you prefer the boat to sink? This is what he said to them. He said, and they're like, what are you talking about? He goes, accidents happen, right? Every day, right? Boats sink. He goes, if this boat sinks and there's no insurance, right? He goes, are you prepared to lose whatever it was, $100 million? So they're like, we'll pay the insurance payment. The bank, genius, right? So, long story short, um, everything worked out for him. He went through a tough time. The banks ended up taking a lot of his assets away. I remember they took the Trump, which was it, the Plaza Hotel. That was one of the assets. They took, I know that Trump shuttle shut down. They settled that. I believe there was a few different things here and there that they took, real estate wise. But ultimately, he was left with his casinos. He was left with Trump Tower. Not too shabby, right? And then the markets eventually recovered. He pulled a lot of genius moves. He did that deal with, I believe it was General. I think it was it General Electric or General Motors? I can't remember. I think it was General Electric, where they financed the Trump International Hotel. They paid him a management fee. They put his name on it. They gave him a big equity position, and that hotel became a major success. Then he bought 40 Wall Street, the Trump building. That became a major success. So all of a sudden, it's like he started coming back, and he just kept rocking and rolling. Next thing you know, he was back in the black. Okay. So it just goes to show you that no matter how tough of a situation that you're in, okay, even if you don't like Donald J. Trump, look, I understand it. Some people don't like him, some people love him. The key is that you have to admire that he had that resilience to not fail. He had the resilience to fight back and to come back. Could you imagine being in debt $9 billion? It's funny, like Wayne Newton, the Las Vegas singer, he called up Donald Trump because he was in a similar trouble, and Donald kind of walked him through the whole blueprint of what he did, and he helped save Wayne Newton, and he got him back into good financial shape. So Wayne Newton owes a big favor to Donald. Donald saved Wayne Newton. But the thing is that it just goes to show you, look, we all complain we're in debt like small money, right? Let's say you're in debt 10,000, you're in debt 15, 20,000, whatever the case may be. Imagine being in debt $9 billion and having to come back from that. So we all have to give Donald J. Trump credit, whether you like him or not, but also learn from it. Learn that we could get out of any situation, no matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult it is. If we have the drive, if we have the determination to win, and we put our minds to it, we could win. And that's proof right there. That story I told you was proof. If he could get out of $9 billion in debt, we could certainly win with AMC and GameStop. Listen, I am not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice. I'm an entertainer. But right, am I not? I mean, do I not make a good point there? 9 billion in debt. If he could do it, we could do it.